1974. He was actuary and vice president for development in the Middle East and North Africa. Between 1974 and 1987, and due to the wars in Lebanon, he was very active in the formation of 4 associations abroad. Between 1987 and 2009, he was the president, director general of the Alliance SNA group, and very well active in the formation of 3 other groups in Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and Next Care Gulf. Mr. Wakim had many administrative responsibilities. Since 2009, he is with Allianz MENA Holding in Lebanon, Jordan Eagle, Bank of Beirut, BMO Bank, Hotel Dieu de France in Lebanon, National Social Security Fund in Lebanon, Lebanese Management Association. He was the former government at the American Hospital in Paris. He was the former advisor board member, business school at the American University of Beirut, and the advisory board member at Business School and Family Business Institute at the Lebanese American University. Ahla wa sahla, the floor is for you. The list is longer. The list is longer. I make it short.
Thank you. Don't be impressed, when you advance in age and you work about 40 or 50 years, it's easy to have in your CV such long achievements. Don't be impressed. I would like to thank Madame Bustani. I would like to thank the Maronite Foundation and this fantastic university, Kaslik. My task today, it's not simple. For me, it's simple because I lived it. But maybe for you, I will try to convince you of one basic element. Why should we be proud of being Lebanese? Many times today, and particularly during the war, we were facing problematic questions. You are from where? From where is your origin? If you were a French, it's simple, Paris. You are from France. English, I am English. You take German, he's proud to be a German. Italians also. But many, from where your origin, you find a way to tell, I am Lebanese, where is this Lebanon? You avoid it. You can say, I am Brazilian, I'm South African, because very few who knows Lebanon. But this is not true. When you have an origin, you have to know your origins. And being Lebanese, it's not a simple question. If you are not convinced yourself of from where you are coming and what is behind your origins, you will not be able to defend it. I have developed for you some 11 points which I believe are behind my proud of being Lebanese. Why? I have been working in about 14 countries during my long career. I don't know who among you know what does it mean actuary. Who do know what does it mean actuary? It's a mystery. This is one of the highest remunerated job on earth, being an actuary. We are the mathematicians who are using the probabilities to calculate the future events in the insurance and the industry. Actuaries is one of the highest paid. If you are good mathematicians, think about it. Try to open the door of these windows. If you are very good in maths, you can do it because it is one of the highest diploma in actuarial science is done by correspondence, whether in the States or in the UK. It's a postgraduate diploma. So when I was traveling in this part of the world, I have to face our partners, whether Americans, British, Swiss, or Germans, and they were always asking me from where you are coming. You were Lebanon. Why? And we were in the middle of the war. So I have had to tell them from where we are coming. I believe personally, and I have developed since then, a theory, which I believe it's behind my success and the success of our group, which is today one of the largest group in the Arab world. It's culture. The C. I start by the first one, culture. And why I'm saying culture? Because just I will give you some figures. Keep it in your mind. You know, this year, 2 million Chinese graduates from universities. 1.5 million Indians will be graduated from universities. 3.5 together, 3.5 million universities are graduated between China and India. 10% of those graduates will come to the Western world, will come to your countries. 3.5 million of these university graduates, if we look to the other part of the world, all the other countries united, they will not generate 1/4 of this figure. Culture is going to be the difference. It is not the same diploma. It is not the same graduation. What it used to be a diploma for us as an engineer or a mathematician or actuary or lawyer about 20 or 30 years ago, even 10 years ago, it's not going to be of use for you for the future if you don't back it with culture. Why culture? Whether in music, history, culture about your roots, culture about knowledge, this part of the world, which is the place where all the great civilization took place, in this part of the world, Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. And Lebanon is in the heart of this part of the world. Now, let's have a look. If you have culture, music, arts, history, I can assure you, at the end of the conference, you can ask me if we have spare time. The 3 largest business I realized in my life in the States and in the Arab world was due to music, my knowledge about music, and general culture. Culture opened the door to another C, which is creation. Because culture will give you a kind of capacity to imagine. Because when you imagine, you can create. When you create, you are different from the others. Creation is a sign of illiteracy. When you don't have the capacity to create, you don't have this. You are not literate. Because when you create, you need something which is additional, which is called courage. Because if you have courage, you can torture your idea, you can believe on it. Once you are convinced, you share it. And once you have this C, the courage of it, then you can be sure that you have created something different from the Chinese, from the Indians, from the Europeans, from anywhere. Even because creation, it is behind the culture. And to last point, the fourth one, why the Chinese are strong. Why the Indians are today controlling the major large companies in the world. They are 1.3 billion. Chinese are working as an army, but they are not as decimated as the Lebanese, if you look to their history, who are very few. If you compare where we have been in the modern history today, it is true today that number 2 at Apple is an Indian. But the number 1 in Mexico is a Lebanese. The man who saved the industry of watches in Switzerland, Hayek, is a Lebanese. The man who saved Nissan, he is Lebanese. We are very few because we have, in addition to our diploma, the capacity to imagine and to create and take initiative. What the essential of all this, if you respect these 4 C's, we end up with the credibility. When you have credibility, it's a treasure. Now, I will give you 11 facts why you should be proud of being Lebanese. I will not be long. The first one, in this part of the world where the Ottomans crashed every culture, they crashed the Arab world. Only in this mountain, which tomorrow you will visit, I think you are going to the Kadisha, and you will see how much it's hard to live there. Only in this part of the world, we were in a revolution, permanent revolution against the Ottomans. In 1584, the first school in Rome was a Maronite school, which created a link between the Maronites in Lebanon, which is a little minority, crashed by the Ottomans, and Europe. This is one address, keep it in your mind. The first contact between the East and the West in terms of culture and education was the creation of the Maronites and the Christian Lebanese in 1584. This is number one. Number two, we were just a few kilometers from here, there is a college called USEK College. In 1736, before the French Revolution, 1736, they, Christians, fathers, they meet in this school, which is USEK, today is a university. And they took a decision to make education in the mountains compulsory. Are you aware of this fact? This is the most important issue. Before the French Revolution, the only country where before us, before the Christians, made the education compulsory was Ireland. So imagine that in 1736, in every village, under the trees, oak trees, in the caves, under the Ottoman empires, the education was compulsory in Lebanon. If we are today here meeting in a country where there's still a liberty compared to other countries in the Middle East because of this major decision of 1736. The first country, second country in the Arab world, in the world to make the education compulsory. Third element. In the Arab world, which is a very vast world, in 1888, it's easy to remember, 1888, in Lebanon, there was about 14,700 students in the school. 14,700 students, as much as all the Arab world united. 40% were girls. The girls were not at schools. This is something which was not at all taking place in this part of the world, and all this under the Ottoman Empire, which was not at all indulgent. 4, under the Ottoman Empire, the first printing machine, I guess you are going to visit it in the mountain when you go in 2-3 days to see this. It is hidden in the mountains. 1610, the year 1610, the first printing machine in the Arab world was imported by the Christians and the Maronites and hidden in the mountain. I am sure that you are going to see it. And it was the man who was caught at that time writing or something was immediately killed. 5, do you know that the first conference, absolutely the first conference in the Arab world, and even in some countries around the Mediterranean Sea, like Greece, Poland, I'm excluding the Western world, Hungary, etc., which was at that time under the Ottoman Empire. Hungary, Bulgaria, they were all countries. Yugoslavia, they were under the Ottoman empires. This country, the Maronites, which were very, very, very few, they organized the first conference about the effects of economy on society. This conference took place in 1817 in a little city near Beirut to study the effects of business, economy on society. And there are books about this. 1867, the first faculty of medicine, which was adopted the Harvard University programs, and you can see this if you go to the internet. This American University of Beirut was founded in Lebanon in 1867, and the School of Medicine, followed by Saint Joseph University. We were the first schools of medicine, modern school of medicines at that period of time. So this is culture, which was built up in our tiny, persecuted society. In 1914, at the beginning of the World War, just Beirut was a mini city compared to Cairo, which used to be the largest city in the Arab world and by far the largest city. Imagine that in Beirut at that time, the newspapers in numbers was highest than the newspapers in Cairo. Although we were under the Ottoman Empire, and Cairo at that time was a little bit liberated from the Ottoman Empire. This is to give you how much the attachment and the convictions of the Christians in Lebanon was so strong that the thinking and the liberty of thinking was genetically strong with them and built up in their mind. In spite of 400 years of Ottoman empires, this country kept a kind of liberty. We went through a lot of events lately during the 40 years. We have had 15 years of war, the Syrian occupations. Today we are in struggle, but Beirut still the only city in the Arab world where you have liberty. Why? Because people are cultured. And when you are cultured, you are a free man. People cultured cannot be dominated. Put it in your mind. People cultured cannot be dominated. We have survived because we are cultured. Today, we are having in our land about 1.2 million of Syrian refugees. And I met recently a German diplomat, because I was still board of one of the largest German groups. He said sometimes we think about Lebanon. In Germany, we have about 800,000 refugees, which we welcomed during these 3 years. And it is for us a big problem. You are a tiny country of 4 million, and you welcome about 1 million. It is a tradition in Lebanon to be people welcoming. Just for your information, during the Armenians massacres, the largest community of Armenians came to Lebanon. When 1948, the Palestinians were kicked out from Palestine, they were welcomed to Lebanon by Christians government at that time. And everywhere, today Syrians, when Nasser came and he nationalized Egypt, they came to Lebanon. And today, because of the dictatorship of Syria, they are coming to Lebanon. And let me just to tell you one thought of a man in 1853, he have the same name of Mr. Churchill. He is Orientalist, Churchill Orientalist, which you can see on your internet. He wrote this: nature and the influence of events have combined to make Mount Lebanon on what it has long been and must always continue to be. He said this in 1853, the rampart and fortress of religious liberty in the East. This is the only place in all the Arab world you have a freedom of culture and religious. It was said in 1853. And at a later period, for those sectarians who were exposed to the fury and persecution of the dominant faith and doctrine of Constantinople, which was Istanbul, he was predicting exactly these events in 1953, and we are still living it. All dictators pushed out their people, and the only place was coming to Lebanon. 1,200,000 Syrians today. In 1916, I don't know if you had an intervention or a conference about the 1916, the big genocide of the Christians of Lebanon. 100 years ago, did you go through it? Exactly 100 years ago, last year, it was last year, the 100th anniversary. The Christians of the Lebanese mountains were starving to death. 20% died by famine. And 20% of the balance ran away from this country, and they went as refugees in all over the world. Maybe you are one of their grandchildren or grand-grandchildren. They started, my family, my father, they were 10. 5 of them left this country at that period and went to Brazil, United States, etc. We have been submitted. There is a movie which was developed by the, and in many languages, and I guess that we can have excellent. Already, I asked the question, nobody answered that they have a knowledge. You will show it, okay. So you will have a film in many languages, which was recently about this drama. We survived. We survived this event. Today, in 1975, very recently, we had a long war of 15 years. All the world was involved in this war. The country was almost destroyed. I can tell you, because I lived this part of the world, that was not a single road in Lebanon where you can find 100 meters long without having a hole, a shell on it which destroyed it. Not 100 meters. There was not a single building all over the country where you didn't find a bullet or a crash of a... But in spite of all this, today, if you look to these great events, you look to the Lebanese and the Christians, we have the best universities in the Arab world. We have the best schools in the Arab world. We have the best hospitals in the Arab world. We have the best doctors, the best engineers, the best lawyers, the best place to live. Beirut today, you can have, at any time you can go out, you can listen to classical music, pop music, you can go to French theater, British theater, English theater, Arabic theater. You can have every night, during all the seasons, you can have a cultural event somewhere, which you don't find a large city like Cairo with 12 million inhabitants, stable with no wars. These are culture. We have a worldwide presence. In spite of all this, because of our culture, we have a worldwide presence. I already cited the people who went from Lebanon. Do you know that in Lebanon, Christians, Lebanese, produced the first ever Nobel Prizes in medicine, Peter Mdauer and James Khoury. There is no other medicine in all the Arab world, 400 millions in the Arab world, stable, but we only produced 2 Nobel Prizes in medicine. These are things, our value is culture. It's a continuation of my colleague, Dr. Ziad Haik mentioned to you. We are not people who conquered with fighting. Phoenicians, they didn't conquer without fighting. And I would like to end this chapter to refer to a book which was written by a Jewish, and it became a great book, a bestseller, traduced in many languages, which is called The Jewish Era. This book is talking about 4 people, only 4 people. I think it's a fantastic book. I like it, and I don't know if you can find it, but I think if you can go to the internet, you can have a summary of this. It's a fascinating book. It was a bestseller, translated to French. Why this book is fascinating? Because he's speaking about 4 people on earth, only 4, not 10, 4 people who were conquerors without fighting. And they make something extraordinary in their trips around the world. 4 people. The Chinese, by number, you find them everywhere. There's not a single city in the world we don't have Chinese. And it's not new, many years ago. So the Chinese. The Jewish, eventually. They were nomads because they were kicked out from where, and you know how much they are powerful today, the Jewish. The Armenians also, they have been massacred and spread all over the world. You can find musicians, thinkers, traders, Armenians, and the Christian Lebanese. He wrote all this. I think if you look to this book, you will find why he wrote this he spoke about the Christian Lebanese and the Maronites. Because they never shot anybody. They went to Africa. They dominated Africa by culture, by industry. Do you know, just to tell you, that in Senegal, this university, Catholic University, they have in Dakar the largest school of 4,000 students, which is free, run by this university in Dakar, only for people of Senegal, just to spread education. It's a free school. Once I was in Argentina, in Buenos Aires, I discovered that the priests of Lebanon, they have established one of the oldest schools there. In South Africa, I was from South Africa, I mentioned this morning, in South Africa you will find also that we are exported of culture, education, industry, thinking. So we have roots, we have values. I would like to ask you 3 simple equations. I believe that frail roots produce a frail tree. Strong roots produce strong tree. No roots, nowhere. Don't try to get the roots of someone else. You have your own roots. Dig to know more about you, about your ancestors, why you are here, why this place in this part of this Arab world is still capable of polarizing people from the Arab world to come to be in our universities. I am a member of 2 largest universities. I am heading one of the largest schools in this country. And all the people in the Arab world, educated, rich, wealthy, they want to give their children a high education without sending them, or they don't have the capacity to send them in the Arab world. They don't send to Cairo. They send to the Christian mountains of Lebanon because we are strong by culture. So our roots are strong. Don't be shy. Keep this in your mind. And to end up my intervention, I will give you 2 models. Lebanon is 10,000 square kilometers. It's one of the tiniest countries in the world. But when you have, it's like having a fish. Take a fish, put it in an aquarium. You feed it every day, it will grow. One day, the fish will be bigger than the aquarium. You cannot keep it. What you do with it, you take it because you like it, you put it in a lake, on a river. This fish never fought before. So the first fish bigger than it will eat it. So Lebanon, it's too tiny for us. We never, ever, even from the time of Phoenicians until today, under the Ottomans, under the wars, we never acted as fish. We are your parents, your grandparents are what? Eagles. They moved with their culture, which acquired already starting in 1736, and they moved all over the world. They are today what they are because they have culture. We are eagles. Our company, established company from the Gulf till Morocco, not because we have money, because we have culture, education, ideas. You are to be proud of culture, of your grandparents. We are not a simple population in this part of the world. Thank you. Merci. Any question?
as you said that everything originated from the Middle East, I believe that the Middle East is the seed of the world, seed for the world. Isn't that right? بذرة الدنيا. Sorry, what is it? Don't, I mixed it up. It's all right. I mixed it up. بالأول sorry بالإذن أنا اسمي الياس أبو مرعي. أبو مرعي.
Super.
بالأول بس بلشت قلت إنه everything originated from the Middle East, من Egypt, Lebanon,
Palestine, the Christ,
that's right.
Jewish, and
exactly all the holy things of Phoenicians. So that means the Middle East is kind of known to be the seed for the world. Mahak بذرة الدنيا. Isn't that
That's
right?
correct.
In a
Look,
way.
let's be realistic.
Yeah.
We should not exaggerate. بذرة الدنيا,
Yeah.
in terms of what it is known today as modern civilization.
That's right.
It is not for India.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
It's not for China.
No.
But it is for the Western world. Geographically, the vast one. It is the result of Judaism, Christian and Islam, which are born in this part of the world.
The Middle East, the Middle Eastern continent. That's it.
But if you go to India, you will be amazed the influence of Islam in India. You will be amazed the influence of Christianity in India also. China, it was still closed and it continued to be closed. But I heard that the largest number of in the world of people convert to Christianity is today in between China and Korea.
In Korea. Thank
No,
you.
this part of the world is not. It's something exceptional. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bonjour, I'm Wadette
Bonjour.
from Australia. Thank you very much for your time. We're very honoured to have you here. I just wanted to know, you mentioned that you lived during the times of the war. What was the biggest challenge for you living in that time and seeing all those things? And what message can you pass on to our generation to avoid such things happening again as much as possible, and for Lebanon to work together as one people?
You know, I think that at that time, it was not avoidable, the war, because the international power which are running the world, they wanted to solve the Palestinians' problem on the account of Lebanon. And the quantity of weapons and bombardments and military used was beyond the Lebanese by far. So I don't think that simple people, cultured people can avoid wars, unless you have influence in education. Because the education is the first step to stop wars, by make people open mind. And if you look to our history, the Maronites never fought a war except when they were corners. Never, ever they fought a war except then. Or our Lebanon, tomorrow you will go, the south of Lebanon, the Mount Lebanon used to be non-Christians. All what you will see tomorrow in all these beautiful mountains used to be Druze. And the Muslims, they were not invaded by war. It was invaded by the Maronites, because they were cultured, they were opening school, they were opening covens, inviting the Druzes to learn. My mother, she was a teacher in a village of Druze, and she was teaching Druzes. So we never have it. Culture and education is a must. Now, the challenges during the war, believe me, I can summarize it in one. We were fighting for two things: survive and earn our living, honestly. It is why in 77, 76, 78, 79, we were moving from this country. There was no airport at all. Shelling was continuous. We used to take the boats from Jounieh, the place where we are today, and they were not boats equipped to travel. They were for animals. So we're going to it. Later on, they brought in some ships to take us to Cyprus. And those ships were not able to professionally sound. They were old ships. And I think they brought them because they were under fire all the time. So we have had to go and live abroad, set up companies, and live out of it. Our company, we have to move to Cyprus. From Cyprus, we went to Jordan. From Jordan to Tunisia, to Morocco. Because when we went there at that time, we were the people which were much, much more advanced in terms of technology. One thing today, if you close your eyes and you imagine with me that every Lebanese today working in the Arab world have a lamp on his head, a tiny lamp, a LED lamp, and you put during an evening a satellite to take a picture, you will find that there is a Lebanese everywhere, and they are not nowhere. They are in major positions. If you go to Europe today, you will find in France, also if you put a lamp, that there is in the States. All this is the result of 1736 culture. So we had to survive, and it was not easy. The company which I was running was in the middle of Beirut. It was completely burned, and we made a film out of it. We were working in the undergrounds. We created one of the most advanced technology of insurance, which make me and my company rich, which is called Kinetic System, which is sold now in Europe everywhere. We have been forced to create. And when we have created, we have the courage to do it. Now, the last thing which I would like to tell you, which is very important, was the number C point, community. Stay always together. Before you leave this visit to Lebanon, shake hands and make a pledge that you will support themselves among you. You have to be strong in terms of community. You will need it. Chinese are united. Indians are united. Big nations are going to be united. If you are not, and you will need it, in your university, in your families, stay within your community, strong and powerful. Shake hands, make a pledge. You will need it one day. This meeting is very important because it's going to make you spread in many countries. And you will imagine one day, remember what I'm telling you, it's going to be a very important arm to have a community to communicate. Take your emails, keep contacts, spread it. You have to face in the future fantastic and great communities. But don't be ashamed or afraid because you are a little community. It is not the size, it is what you have in mind. Thank you. Other questions?
Hi, I'm Ariel Elias from Argentina. You start the conference saying us the world don't sorry for my English. The world don't know where is Lebanon, no?
Yes.
But Lebanon, we export many things to the world. If you have to choose or to tell us one word to explain that situation, which words will? ¿Cuáles palabras serían? Which word will you choose to explain that situation? The world don't know us, but we export many things to the world.
Yeah, let's make it simple. Huh? If you combine what my colleague, Dr. Ziad said, and what I said, you can summarize it in 2 words. The first ever in the world, the notion of culture, the culture, was by the Phoenicians in creating the alphabet. This is number 1. We are the first creator of a communication. And the second one, the fantastic determination to survive during 16th century, the courage. You are genetically strong to survive. Thank you very much.